What do you make of this Philadelphia team if they are healthy? I mean, this is a talented team.
I mean, they got three of the most talented players in the NBA.
Breaking news out of the NBA. LeBron James is taking his talents to Philadelphia.
All right, everyone is stunned in the NBA, right?
LeBron James is going to the city of brotherly love.
Everyone had already written the ending. A tired legend riding off quietly, cashing one last easy check somewhere comfortable. That was the script the entire basketball world had prepared. Nobody bothered writing a second draft. Then the news broke and it tore that first draft to shreds. He did not pick the team that drafted him. He did not pick the team where he first became a champion. He did not pick the safest, simplest path to another ring. He picked the one conference built to punish weakness, and he walked straight into it with a target already on his back. LeBron James is a Philadelphia 76er now, and the reasons behind that decision are far more dangerous than anyone predicted. This is not the closing chapter people expected. This is the opening of something the league has never once seen.
All right, everyone is stunned in the NBA, right?
To choose the Philadelphia 76ers, this is a shock among shockers.
I was shocked. I was not expecting this news to
Take yourself back to the exact night his last playoff run collapsed. LeBron stood behind a microphone and admitted, plainly and without hesitation, that he genuinely believed he had just played in his final NBA game. There was no posturing in it, no hidden leverage, just raw honesty from a man who sounded finished. Then, almost instantly, he vanished from public view entirely. No interviews leaked, no hints dropped through insiders, no carefully timed social media teases, just complete silence while he sat alone with the one question that actually mattered. Was there anything real left in the tank, or had the body simply run out of answers? Weeks of that silence passed, and then the moment free agency opened, his phone would not stop ringing. Cleveland called, Miami called, Golden State called, Minnesota called. More than 10 different organizations reached out almost immediately, and suddenly every meaningful stop of his career was sitting back on the table at the exact same time. Cleveland was dangling the perfect homecoming story, the franchise that drafted him, the city he already delivered a championship to once before. Miami was offering the emotional full circle reunion, the exact place where his championship legacy first began. Golden State was offering the simplest possible math: walk straight into an already elite roster and immediately become the missing ingredient in a title run. Philadelphia was barely mentioned anywhere. Multiple national outlets left them completely off their prediction lists. And that absence is precisely why this decision hit so hard. Because it was never driven by nostalgia or comfort. It was driven entirely by cold calculation.
So now you got Jaylen Brown, okay, who's big time, obviously, with Tyrese Maxey, who's big time. You got him with Edgecombe, who shined as a rookie and's got tremendous potential. And now you're looking at it, if Joel Embiid is 50%, I mean, if he can give you anything during the playoffs, the Philadelphia 76ers could win the championship.
Study what Philadelphia had quietly assembled before LeBron ever entered this conversation, and the entire decision starts making perfect sense. They had already traded for Jaylen Brown, a legitimate Finals MVP who had proven, on the biggest stage in basketball, that he could operate as a team's #1 option and still win it all. They still had Joel Embiid, a former league MVP who remains an absolute matchup nightmare whenever his body cooperates, dominant defensively in the paint and nearly unguardable scoring inside. They had Tyrese Maxey, an all-star level guard who spent the previous season practically carrying this roster into the playoffs by himself, an elite shot maker with constant downhill pressure. And they had Edgecombe, the third overall selection from the 2025 draft class, a rookie whose defensive tools and physical upside were already generating buzz among scouts before his first professional season had even wrapped. Stack that up, a Finals MVP, a former league MVP, a genuine all-star, a top 5 rookie talent. This roster was never lacking scoring punch. What it lacked was direction. an organizer capable of stitching 4 individually gifted pieces into one cohesive, functioning system. LeBron did not choose this franchise for sentimental reasons. He chose it because the math only worked in one direction. They were missing exactly one component, and that component wore his name. For 3 straight years, one narrative kept circulating louder and louder. He has slowed down. He cannot close games anymore the way he used to. He is no longer the same force. Every rough shooting night became fresh ammunition. Every quiet fourth quarter got clipped, captioned, and blasted across every platform imaginable. By the moment his team got eliminated in the second round, the retirement columns were essentially finished, sitting ready to publish the second the announcement came. He's cooked, they said. There's nothing left, they said. The math simply does not work anymore, they said. Then look directly at what the box score actually recorded. At 41 years old, deep into a stretch of life where the overwhelming majority of athletes have already been retired for years, LeBron produced 20.9 points, 7.2 assists, and 6.1 rebounds a night, connecting on an extraordinarily efficient 51.5% of his shots from the field. Read that figure twice. 51% shooting efficiency at 41 years old, 23 seasons into a single career. That performance earned him his 22nd career All-Star selection and pushed his career total to 21 All-NBA selections, a number no other human being who has ever played this sport has come close to reaching, not one player anywhere near him. By the time the season closed, his cumulative totals crossed 43,000 career points, nearly 13,000 rebounds, and a comparable figure in career assists, making him the only player in the entire history of the league to surpass 10,000 in all 3 statistical categories simultaneously. That is not a top 3 accomplishment. That is not even a top 2 accomplishment. That is a category of exactly one name, and it belongs entirely to him. Now, widen the lens even further, because the full context makes this even harder to believe. The overwhelming majority of professional basketball players never even reach the floor at 41 years old. The rare few who manage to stick around typically accept minimum salary deals, a handful of scattered bench minutes, and a polite standing ovation as the final seconds tick off the clock. LeBron just posted more than 20 points a night at that exact same age. That is not a ceremonial farewell tour stat line whatsoever. That is a legitimate full-time starter's workload. And on a considerable number of genuine playoff contenders, that level of production makes him a real, functional second option in the rotation. Go back and examine every single season any NBA player has logged past the age of 40 throughout league history. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at 41 years old averaged 10 points a game. Vince Carter at 41 managed only 5 points a night. Dirk Nowitzki at that same age averaged 7. Robert Parrish at 43 years old scraped together barely 3 points a game. LeBron James averaged 21. There is nothing in the recorded history of this sport that sits anywhere within reach of that number. The critics spent 3 consecutive years insisting his championship window had permanently shut for good. His own production says the calendar simply refuses to apply to him the way it applies to literally every other human being who has ever played this game. What almost everyone completely overlooked was the real, honest explanation behind his team's late career struggles. He was never fading quietly toward some graceful exit. He was single-handedly holding together a roster around him that had genuinely nothing left to offer. He was never the actual problem sitting at the center of that collapse. He was simply the very last man still standing when everything else fell apart around him. And now, for the first time in an extremely long stretch of his professional career, he is walking straight into a locker room where the entire burden does not rest solely on his own 2 shoulders. This time, he is not the whole plan by himself. He is the final piece that completes an already dangerous puzzle.
You know, this team clearly is loaded. And you look at that starting 5, to me, it's arguably the most formidable starting 5 in the NBA.
break this entire starting lineup down piece by piece, and every single team left in the East should genuinely be nervous right now. Tyrese Maxey instantly transforms into the engine of this offense, finally released from having to manufacture every single bucket completely on his own, now free to play without constantly needing the ball in his hands and simply let his elite shooting stroke take over games. VJ Edgecombe becomes the pure accelerator of this roster, a defensively gifted young rookie who now gets the rare opportunity to develop directly alongside a first-ballot legend instead of getting rushed prematurely into a role his experience cannot yet support. Jaylen Brown transforms into the two-way difference maker this roster desperately needed, a genuinely proven closer who has already tasted a championship at the highest level and brings a defensive dimension nobody else currently on this roster can offer. Joel Embiid remains the anchor holding the entire defensive structure together, a former league MVP fully capable of single-handedly flipping the outcome of any given game, provided his body finally allows him to consistently stay on the floor. And LeBron steps directly into a role he has almost never been asked to play throughout his entire career, the brain running the entire operation from the inside. Nobody is asking him to score 30 points a night anymore. He is the connective tissue linking every single piece of this roster together, setting up cutters, finding shooters in their exact rhythm, unlocking easy post touches for Embiid before opposing defenses can even fully rotate. Now layer in head coach Nick Nurse, a proven championship-winning tactician running a versatile, switch-heavy, high IQ defensive system perfectly tailored for a 41-year-old LeBron. A system that removes physical strain from his body without ever removing the basketball from his hands. Compare all of that directly against the rest of this conference. Kawhi is reportedly making his return to Toronto. Giannis has relocated his talents to Miami. Cleveland completely reshaped its own roster this summer. New York still remains a legitimately dangerous team on paper. Every single realistic contender spent this entire offseason trying to construct something genuinely intimidating. And yet, on paper, absolutely no team currently sitting in the East can match a top four that reads Maxey, Brown, LeBron, Embiid. Buried underneath every single one of these storylines sits one piece of basketball history that almost nobody is discussing loudly enough. No single player in nearly 80 years of NBA championship basketball has ever won a title with four completely different franchises. Not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, not Shaquille O'Neal, not Kobe Bryant, not Tim Duncan, not even Bill Russell himself. LeBron has already claimed championships in Miami, in Cleveland, and in Los Angeles. If Philadelphia manages to deliver one single championship, he accomplishes something this entire sport has genuinely never witnessed in its complete history. Sit with everything he willingly walked away from just to make this single decision happen. He turned down Cleveland, the exact franchise that originally drafted him, the city where he already delivered its very first championship in decades. He turned down Miami, the precise location where he first tasted championship glory, a reunion story practically guaranteed to write its own emotional headlines. He turned down Golden State, unquestionably the smoothest and most guaranteed route toward another championship ring anywhere in this entire league. Instead, he willingly accepted a pay cut exceeding $44 million and walked directly into the single toughest conference in all of professional basketball, surrounded by contenders who spent their entire offseason specifically preparing to become terrifying. That is not remotely the profile of somebody quietly searching for an easy, comfortable exit from this game. That is the unmistakable profile of a lifelong competitor deliberately selecting the single hardest fight currently available to him. If this entire gamble actually works out, his complete resume stops reading like an ordinary statistical sheet and instead starts reading like an entire history book. 5 total championships across 4 completely separate franchises, more All-NBA honors than any single player who has ever laced up a pair of sneakers, and a career record with genuinely no equal anywhere close to it. This league spent years quietly building its entire future around youth, spacing, and pure speed, fully convinced his particular era was finally behind them for good. It completely forgot about the one single variable it could never fully plan or scheme around. A player who has already personally lived through every conceivable version of this game and simply refuses to walk away until he wins it one final time. Do you honestly believe he actually pulls this off in Philadelphia? Drop your real prediction down in the comments below, and make sure you are subscribed for more breakdowns exactly like this one.